Welcome to the Explainer. Look, if you're stressing out about mastering the upcoming, completely overhauled UK university application process, just take a deep breath. You are in exactly the right place. Today, we're putting together the ultimate guide to the new 2026 changes. We're going to break down exactly what universities actually want to see from you and how you can position yourself way ahead of the pack. Okay, let's dive into this because 2026 marks the biggest, most fundamental shift to the UK university application process in recent memory. Seriously, if you're applying for 2026 entry, the old rules of engagement, they are completely gone. Understanding these new parameters is going to be your absolute superpower. To keep this whole high-stress process manageable, we're following a clear 5-step roadmap today. Choosing your perfect university, the 2026 application shakeup, mastering the 3 questions, the interview final hurdle, and finally, avoiding common application mistakes. Let's hit Pillar 1, choosing your perfect university. It's time to target your ambitions. Before you write a single word of your application, you need to know exactly where you're applying, right? Because your destination dictates your entire strategy. And for many of you, that target is the Russell Group. Formed back in 1994, these 24 leading research universities offer unparalleled global credibility. We're talking degrees recognized by employers worldwide, with massive career advantages. Think direct, on-campus recruitment partnerships with global heavyweights like Goldman Sachs and the NHS. And this brilliantly illustrates that while global rankings absolutely matter, it's these practical factors that will actually define your day-to-day life. Does a London location with unmatched networking outweigh the much lower cost of living in Edinburgh or Manchester? You really have to look closely at specific course modules, industry links, and graduate outcomes. Remember, you aren't just picking a shiny brand name, you're choosing your actual home for the next 3 to 4 years. Moving on to Pillar 2, the 2026 application shakeup, the end of the single essay. Guys, this is the moment everything changes for your application journey. We are officially saying goodbye to that terrifying, totally unstructured blank page. In the old format, you had 4,000 characters to just kind of ramble about yourself however you saw fit, which, let's be honest, was a total nightmare for anyone prone to writer's block. Well, the new 2026 format replaces that anxiety-inducing essay with 3 highly structured, scaffolded questions. Now, the overall 4,000 character limit remains exactly the same, but each of your 3 targeted responses has to hit a minimum of 350 characters. Which brings us to Pillar 3, mastering the 3 questions. Let's get into your strategic breakdown. We are now going to deeply unpack these 3 brand new prompts to give you a massive competitive edge. So here is the exact wording for question 1. Why do you want to study this subject or subjects at degree level? UCAS suggests spending about 150 words here. That is incredibly short, meaning every single sentence has to do real heavy lifting to establish your genuine intellectual interest. So the crucial point is, we need to myth-bust a really common mistake right now. Admissions tutors already know your A-level or IB syllabus inside and out. Do not just describe what you learned in high school class. To win this question, you need highly specific evidence of curiosity. Name a specific research paper, a lecture, or a compelling problem that literally changed how you think. And please drop the invisible filler phrases like, I had been passionate about this since a young age. They've heard it a million times. Next up, we have question 2. How have you prepared yourself for this course or courses? With a suggested length of around 250 words, this takes up about half of your entire statement. And for highly competitive universities, think Oxbridge or top medical schools, this is widely considered the single most critical question of all. Referencing complex supercurricular material like, say, an academic research paper on the ethical and social implications of artificial intelligence is exactly the kind of concrete evidence top-tier institutions demand. For places like Oxford, the baseline expectation is that your preparation demonstrates real engagement with undergraduate-level material going far beyond your standard high school curriculum. But remember, do not treat this section as a basic laundry list of activities. Saying I attended a summer school and read 3 books just isn't going to cut it. You must pick a few specific experiences, maybe it's an EPQ, independent reading, or clinical shadowing for medicine, and deeply explain how it actually developed your thinking. Name the specific ideas you encountered and explain what you did with them. Show, don't just tell. Finally, we arrive at question 3. How will studying at higher education level help you achieve your ambitions? This is the shortest question at around 100 suggested words, and it really serves as the grand culmination of your entire application narrative. The brevity here is a feature, not a bug. Admissions tutors want to see if you can make a clear, grounded point quickly. Avoid those vague, corporate-sounding phrases like making a positive impact on society. Instead, focus on how the specific analytical toolkit or the exact skills you'll gain from this specific course link to a plausible career path. Look, you don't need a definitive job title yet, but the overall direction of travel absolutely must make sense. All right, Pillar 4, the interview final hurdle. It's all about showcasing how you think. If you are targeting medicine, dentistry, veterinary science, law, or Oxbridge, the interview is essentially the final boss of your application journey, and preparation has to start long before that actual invitation arrives in the winter. During the summer before you apply, you should already be doing intensive wider reading and getting a rock-solid grasp of core principles. By early autumn, your applications are submitted, and then from November to January, you enter the interview invitation period, where you should be doing your final intensive mock practices. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the secret to the interview. They aren't always looking for you to just spit out the correct answer immediately. The winning approach is entirely about your methodical thinking process. You need to think aloud, break complex problems down into smaller components, and show genuine intellectual curiosity. If you're presented with new evidence that completely contradicts your point, adjust gracefully. Getting defensive or relying on robotic, memorized scripts is a massive red flag. And you absolutely must know your format, because the styles vary wildly. Oxbridge relies heavily on 20 to 30-minute deep dive academic problem-solving sessions where you might discuss completely unfamiliar concepts or written work you submitted. On the flip side, medical schools often use MMIs, multiple mini interviews. These are short, rapid-fire, 5 to 8-minute stations testing role-play, ethical reasoning, and communication skills. Research your specific university's format so you are never caught off guard. Finally, Section 5, avoiding common application mistakes. Let's look at the traps of the new format. We need to do a critical wrap-up of the pitfalls specifically introduced by these 2026 changes. Because the new format is so heavily structured, your mistakes will be much more visible to admissions staff. The absolute biggest red flag, writing your 3 questions in total isolation. Tutors are going to read the whole thing as one single document, so your answers must weave together into one coherent narrative without ever repeating the exact same examples. Keep your formal school studies out of the section meant for independent preparation. Drop the empty filler phrases. And whatever you do, do not ignore current affairs relevant to your field, especially for subjects like law, economics, or medicine. I want to leave you with this fantastic perspective from the Inference Guide. The right university is not simply the one with the highest ranking. It is the one that fits your academic goals, suits your budget, offers the right course, and supports your long-term career plans. This is just so important to remember. Your personal fit, your well-being, and alignment with your specific goals will ultimately serve you far better than pure prestige alone. So, taking in everything we've covered today, from the structured 3 questions to the rigors of the interview process and selecting the perfect Russell Group institution, are you ready to build your 2026 blueprint and show universities exactly how you think? Start your preparation early, read widely, and craft a narrative that is undeniably yours. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and best of luck with your applications.